Let's get into our press review and Varsity Admission Board's good news for candidates. You have new University Admissions Board relaxes guidelines, offering relief to hundreds of learners and their parents. There's always been that issue of absorption and the numbers and how, after every level, those numbers diminish and, perhaps this will help.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think point number 2 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Government sponsoring eligible candidates in both private and public universities. That and also allowing people, when you get to campus and then there's that story, you can't take what because, you're taking what. And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an institution of higher learning. I get there, and say what? I need to go take this direction and take it. Yes, now it will be possible. I don't know what.
It will be possible, but we need to find out the requirements for the government sponsorship, and is it partial sponsorship, full sponsorship? Those are the questions probably students need to ask.
Yes. Yeah, but it's good. I think there is
it's a
more.
good step.
There are a lot of private institutions that have come through and offering, very competitive courses, and it helps, to relieve the pressure from the public universities. So I think it's a good way to try and absorb most people who are coming from high school, the high schoolers, into universities. And as soon as you have probably the qualification and the courses, you can possibly apply to, and immediately start your life on loan,
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and as Babu, gets back to
law.
Law
From
studies.
material science.
Perhaps you could, just do this cool thing. But details of that story on page 2. And another story that's on the front page, of course, the front page picture is on Jubilee MP's take on Jichopevu tape, and we'll look at that in a short while. The details are on page 4. But if you call your governor, Kathy, Your Excellency, or an MCA Honorable, there's a bill that's before the National Assembly, and if it becomes law, that will be illegal. You'll be jailed or fined 1 million shillings.
No skin off my nose. I think there are too many honorables and excellencies, as it is anyway, I think, the name should probably just stick for the president and his deputy and the CSs. Everybody wants to be called
and
honorable.
first ladies for their wives.
Everybody wants to have a title.
What do you think? You want your governor to be Excellency?
I don't care, honestly.
There are more important issues.
I wouldn't care less. But I think, this is one of the things that we get into, trapped into, the National Assembly, comes up and sticks something, and then we get stuck into, flags, calling Excellency. Really, I wouldn't care a lot. But I think governors would care so much. They say there's something in a name, and it definitely possibly removes something, from the authority. We say, I think there's nothing, really. We should just. I would have preferred, like I said, stick with the president and the deputy president. Call them Excellency. MCAs, want to be called honorables. I think you're stretching it.
They want, bodyguards.
Honorable
they
MCA.
Want houses.
Yeah, honorable MCA doesn't sound right.
It does not. It does not. But I'm sure you've seen the cropping up of all these backstreet colleges on page 2.
Yes, and that is good news. Good news.
Yeah? Because there's so many everywhere you go.
Bogus colleges.
Yeah.
On top of bars, on top of it's true, and it's for that unmet need of these guys who are left out of the selection process. As much as they and I probably didn't want to comment further, but as much as they say the requirement is a C+, I don't think anyone with a C+ is going to get into the regular course.
Yes.
And if you have a C+ and you come from Kibera or you come from a poorer area and you can't afford higher education, then you're left with nothing but to go for these backstreet colleges because you want some form of certificate.
I think what the government needed to do, first they need to open up the university and college institutions much more and make them more accessible to the 500,000 people who do KCSE first. So that there's a viable option. Not only that people get C+, but people get D+.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't mean that once you don't get C+ or B-, then you can't advance
anywhere.
and go to university education. So I think this is okay, but there's so many people, I'm sure, who have made lives out of this. Getting to those backstreet colleges, and try and find something to do, wing your way, and get where. So I think it's okay for authority to do it, but it's not sorting the problem.
It
is not. That is
because
good.
as it stands, I think the government only gives 30% of the university's budget to the university.
Yes.
The rest you have to source for yourself. That's why you have so many parallel courses. You have so many private students, because they're the ones who are running the university as we speak, because the government doesn't give enough money to these
there
higher.
There you go. So we're not doing enough. So this is it's for authority purpose, to just stamp it's good. We are doing something, but you've not solved the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. The bigger problem continues to be there. Page 4, MPs want man in KTN expose arrested. So you have those about how many? 25 Jubilee members that were led by Majority Leader Aden Duale, dismissed the Jicho Pevu expose aired by KTN, and bringing into disrepute the conduct of IEBC in the last general election. Of course, that came into the fore. But they also bring into question Mr. X and Mr. Oswago.
But Mr. X cannot be arrested. I mean, he has he's protected by the law, right?
Yeah.
We can protect our sources.
Yes, we protect our sources, and anyone can say, whatever they want. But first of all, the biggest rule of journalism, that we stand that, a pillar, if you like, is that, well, the source is known to the journalist and the editors, all right? And if we feel that we must protect our source for us to tell the story, like it has happened here, then so be it. But in the bigger scheme of things, I think this is escapism, looking for an angle or some bit of it where, we can go further, and make it a Code versus Jubilee affair. Well, indeed, I think, and I thought that the expose had tried to look at the balanced issue in totality, in whole, from 2007. It was not just about a Mr. Oswago or a Mr. X. The expose was not about the two individuals, so I think this is politics,
It is politics. It is definitely. But unfortunately, on page 6, that story that broke last night, 2 police officers killed in Pangani explosion. And this just goes to tell you how, the war against terror and the whole insecurity conversation, how it shifts and mutates. And we're seeing the government here saying they're all out and the security agencies, to fight this. But at the end of the day, it's such a difficult, complex, because they'll take on a different form. Exactly. When you're focusing on the swoops and doing this, they're now, perhaps even just getting the car to which would get stopped, choreograph the whole thing.
It speaks to intelligence. Intelligence and knowing your cells, knowing your terror cells. If indeed this was a terror attack, knowing the terror cells, getting somebody, it's more than doing the swoop. It's getting under their skin and getting to know their movements, and they need to work on intelligence, because as you're arresting people in Sali, a terrorist has an IED in your police car. How did he get an IED in his police? It's like, dude, if you're doing your job, that should not happen.
I think the sad thing about that incident was, I think, we'll have to wait and see the correct police version as it progresses. But the fact that they say that they had, noticed and flagged down the vehicle at a traffic stop, then 2 policemen got inside the vehicle. So that's the first point of departure, is that, well, if that was a suspicious vehicle, it's good that intelligence got it, right? Then how did they get in? You got 2 police, got into a suspicious individuals, then they drove in, then we see what has happened. So I think a learning curve there, learning lesson. And also I think, as probably we'd see how that conversation goes, was it as you said at the time, because this would be the first. Before that, they have tried, to, shoot or throw grenades and leave. But if it has now progressed into, suicide attacks, then it means things are a bit different. Now we have to scale and do things a bit different. But this picture here on page 6, is this a pedestrian or a kid who's opening a bag? It's a child, right?
Yeah.
So
if we are going the suicide way, I mean, children are not out of the question to be checked.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have children in other countries, having bombs strapped to them
and it also brings in question, you see, the police officers got into the car. In other countries, most countries, police have their own vehicles. Here in Kenya, even when it's a traffic offense, fungua mlango, they get into your car. That should not be happening.
And it's actually supported by law. That's the weird thing. I mean, what if this person takes you to Mombasa? Where's your safety and protection of your safety there?
There's a story of a fellow who was caught in traffic on Thika Road, a traffic offense. So he stopped and, the police got in, and then he said, you know what, let's go to the police station. And the fellow put his vehicle on gear 3 and drove straight Thika Road, Githurai. The police was in panic.
Yeah, because
it's like, stop. The guy drove, got to Georgia, stopped the car. The police opened the door and left, and the fellow left. It doesn't make sense. Well, I think the better way is to handle this, and I think it's more about not constitutionalism and how we handle our police issues, and but it's also we don't follow the law. The police say report to a police station at this time. So Fiona will never report to a police station.
You'll be like, woo.
Yeah, that's it.
Later.
So as much as we like to blame them on it, it's also now a bit on our part.
True.
We have to all scale up a bit.
Yeah. And it's a war that everybody must be involved in. The security question, as much as yes, the backstops to the agencies and the security agencies and the government, we all have a role to play.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a role. But Lupita, good news, named world's most beautiful woman, People magazine. She's the cover girl. Of course, the other beautiful people are there, but little pictures of them. I saw the cover yesterday, and amazing. She continues to shine, to glow, to make headlines around the world.
And she keeps, shining the light for dark-skinned girls like some of us,
Yes, we should all cut our hair as well.
You should, huh?
Lupita this thing.
But I think it comes at an opportune time when the world is having, the politics of natural hair, the politics of color, of skin color, and I think she's beautiful. I think she's great
gorgeous.
Representation of an African woman. Yeah.
Gorgeous,
well deserved.
Gorgeous. What do you say, James?
I've been following your train of thoughts, the two of you, in the last 2 minutes. Yes, you should both, I think, cut your hair.
Oh.
You've just said it. You've said it. That it's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
So what are you waiting for?
Gorgeous hair.
What are you waiting for?
We cannot all be the same. We need Lupitas. We need to make market for the weaves. I mean, where business people. We need to encourage. If we all cut.
But I agree with you. I think her natural beauty is
amazing.
It's amazing. It's just inspiring,
Yes,
and then she keeps on. I saw a tweet yesterday. I don't know. I think it's Ellen DeGeneres said that word. What can she not do?
Yeah.
And Ellen loves her, completely adores her.
Yeah. She's
really awesome.
But then there was a joke, Allow me to say the joke. Someone said that if, they come to Kenya, they'll find a whole lot of Lupitas and then some,
I know.
Yeah.
It will inspire people to come to Kenya.
Yeah.
We just have amazing. It's a tourist attraction. Come see more Lupitas around. So do grab yourself a copy of the Standard newspaper.
Don't miss the student protests.
Oh, yes.
KMC students on the rampage on page 9.
Yeah. That guy, Kombioni.
Yeah. Possibly reporting your news shortly.
What is college without a random riot? Well, you guys went to Daystar.
Yeah.
Nairobi University. So, there's that random riot that closes down school for a week, which is fun.
Really, Kath?
Which is fun.
Get a well-deserved break.
The riot-up guy.
Okay, right. So?
The Daily Nation.
Okay.
But before we move on, maybe in sports news, and one of the big stories that's happening is the World Cup. The countdown is on, and one of the biggest stories, again, protests, we mentioned them, happening in Rio, and most of those stadia incomplete, and so much money, billions have so far gone into just preps for the same, and it's sad.
It always happens. Maybe in South Africa, this. If up to the last week, stadiums are not ready, they will be ready. It's always a race. I think they will be ready.
They'll
honestly.
be ready.
I think it will be ready.
Right.
And the issues around, they'll work around them.
Yeah. The party people, the beautiful girls, and football.
Oh, yes.
Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
Tutaenda. Jubilee fights courts move against IEBC. That's the Daily Nation lead today. Opposition wants the Electoral Commission send parking after leaked tape suggested 2013 polls were mismanaged, but governing coalition vows to defend team chaired by Isaac Hassan. Why should they be defending IEBC?
Exactly.
Jubilee. Because then it looks like you're in bed together.
Yeah. No. But how else would you want them to?
Say questions have been raised. Commission of inquiry will be constituted. The recommendations will be taken seriously. Lie to us.
The sad part about this story is that if tomorrow Jubilee says it's fine, let's disband IEBC. Do you know who's going to appoint the next IEBC officials?
Jubilee.
Thank you. That's a difficult story that no one wants to get into. So it's a I don't understand even the core strategy of having this IEBC disbanded.
Yeah.
Because once you disband it, guess who's going to nominate people in parliament?
So it's perhaps going to be worse.
Not perhaps, it will be worse.
it will totally
And that's then a
yes.
conversation that they need to have. That needs to perhaps come out more, you know, that, they be disbanded and then what?
Yeah.
So
well,
will you now complain, and these guys now put in place the wrong people? Like, it will just be a vicious cycle.
Something, it doesn't make sense. You know, this is a conversation that's going to hit the wall. I mean, if you're looking for a progressive, next 2017, we should be looking at electoral laws, try and fix that, have a minimum reforms of something on that.
But I think we have perfect electoral laws. We have perfect electoral laws.
We don't. We actually watered them down in the last year when we were doing, this wholesale, laws in the last parliament, the last 3 months, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, we watered them down. The things that we were talking about, like, well, first things first, you need to be in a party for at least 6 months before you're nominated. Those one was removed. You cannot change party loyalties midstream. Those were removed. We changed all still things for us to take care of the 2013 elections.
But touching on IEBC, I think the laws surrounding that and the conduct of elections, I think those laws are good. I just think that maybe,
part of the things that
reshuffling might be needed.
I don't think it's more
maybe.
Possibly yes, more about the people who are there who need to go.
Yeah.
But as well, also IEBC, there's a way that IEBC needs to be more out of government, so that it doesn't have to depend and go for all these, budgeting and whatnot through government and process and procurement. That is how it's tied into the government. It's tied to the hip into the government.
Do you think that the Parliament would ever pass a law where they say, well, IEBC, regardless of whether we like it or not, we'll give it this amount of money?
They won't. That's the problem. It's what, if we wanted to genuinely look at our problems, 2017, we should have started there and say, well, we just want an independent arbiter who sits there and we're here, and when you show up, he says, yes, go on, you've won, you've lost, and that's it. But we don't want that. The politicians themselves don't want that. They want something they can control.
Somebody asked yesterday on Instagram whether IEBC have a PR,
they do.
They perhaps need a lot of PR to help them through this murky situation. But we have 2 minutes to go. The Star headline today, Raila says Prime Minister system best for Kenya. He's quoted as having said that in one of the lectures in Princeton in the United States of America. And so he believes this presidential system that we have going on right now is perhaps not working.
He's always believed that. I think if you follow his politics, he's always thought of a parliamentary system as the best system for what I mean, and he advances that, at every opportunity he has.
Right. Okay. And Kenya, Qatar signed bilateral agreements. The president, is he back yet? Not yet.
He's back, yes. He came yesterday night.
Yes. Okay. So we've got business coming through there.
Yes, today, actually, he will be overseeing a GSU pass-out parade this morning.
Passing out.
Yes. The first was the police, about 3 weeks ago, I think some 3,000 police. Then the AP, about
trying
last
to
week.
increase the ratio.
Yes.
Trying to improve it.
So I think, if you look at it, possibly 5,000 or 6,000, new police officers, just showed up in the last month,
And the Garissa governor election was nullified. That's in the People headline. Court of Appeal declares Nadif Jama Adams' seat vacant, citing irregularities. What again is the deadline, and to which we will not have more of this nullification, petitions?
Basically what happened is there was a time period, the time frame that was issued, that the cases were heard and were determined. But here's the thing, see, it's a court process. So if you feel not satisfied with the process, you go
appeal.
You appeal. So you go to the appeal, then you can go to the Supreme Court. So there's no time frame for that. There can't be a time frame for that. But for the elections proper, there was a court and judges and time, and that's how all of them, all of a sudden, they just finished. So now these are the cases that were appealed.
Oh, appealed. Okay, good. Because I remember in the last system, you'd have
appeals up to the last year. To the last month.
A few months to the general election.
You're no longer the MP for 6 months, eh?
Fine. It's like, yes.
Yeah, but the teachers of Garissa must be happy. Remember, there was a time when he was agitating for failure teachers, quote unquote, to be fired by TSC. So I'm sure they're like, phew.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is how the dailies are looking today. Grab yourself a copy of the Standard newspaper. Lots in store for you there. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you
for being with us.